South Africa is looking for a drastic shift in the energy space in the next 10 years. Currently, coal accounts for 85% of the country's electricity generation, but the plan is to reduce this to 59% by 2030. Renewable energy is forecast to account for around a quarter of the country's overall energy supply in the next 20 years. But what role will natural gas play in this mix? Joining us now is Prashaen Reddy from global management consultancy Kearney. He's also a moderator at this week's annual Africa Gas Forum. Very good morning to you. So obviously gas being the focus here, we have lots of it. It's quite expensive to use and access, isn't it?
Morning, Jane. Thank you for having me once more. Well, not really. I think definitely with its abundant supply in the region and the lowering global gas prices across the world, we're starting to see, of course, quite a lot of interest in ensuring the use of that gas supply. With the large finds in Mozambique and South Africa, I think certainly there's going to be an abundance of supply for the market. It's about how do we create the demand and the access to that gas that's going to be critical. Yeah.
And are we poised to do it successfully?
Yes, I think, of course, with COVID-19, we've seen a slowdown. Has been at the conference of the Africa Energy Endowment Africa Gas Forum. Many of the delegates and panelists have been discussing these points. Certainly, there's been a slowdown, but a lot of opportunity. LNG starting to pick up once more in Mozambique in terms of interest in infrastructure investments and projects, as well as interest in South Africa. So still starting to see a lot of more interest now following the pandemic for gas infrastructure growth and continuing to develop the gas market.
Prashaen, we know what needs to be done. It's been discussed ad nauseum. But how do you break this impasse? Now, I mean, our reliance on coal, it's about 85% of that for our energy, and the desperate need to move to renewables, and a government reluctant to release its grip.
Well, I think if you look at IRP and government's direction policy-wise, I think gas and renewables have a big role to play. We have to move. Funding coal projects going forward is going to be a struggle. Nobody wants to finance coal anymore. So certainly with the infrastructure we have around gas in Mpumalanga region, where we have most of our coal-fired power stations, we could potentially utilize future gas supply into the region to convert many of our coal power stations towards gas, as well as the complementary nature of gas and renewables. I mean, both of these need to exist for us to be successful in diversifying our energy mix going forward. So I certainly think that government and probably ESCOM and other players have little choice moving forward in terms of developing gas and renewable infrastructure.
Okay, if we get this right, how long is it going to take before we have what we deserve, energy, electricity, 24 hours a day?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jane. I think certainly renewables will scale quickly. We're starting to see distributed energy, even in South Africa, in terms of the amount of renewable investment going into government's renewable IPP program. So I think that will continue to be the case, and we'll start to see many more solar and wind power generation plants coming on stream. But with gas, certainly infrastructure is going to be the key. But as we heard at the conference as well this past week, certainly starting small and in distributed ways, trying to start the virtual pipelines of gas, small-scale LNG, and starting to bring gas into the market and then slowly scaling that. I think we'll start to see that happen over the next 2, 3 to 5 years, and renewables to complement that, to create stability.
Prashaen, I know we've got a lot of clever people in this country. I'm just wondering how we are viewed internationally. I mean, if our moves away from coal is respected, and if we get this right, which we have to, what sort of investment should it unlock?
Yes, I think, initially South Africa's renewable power, independent power program was very much well received globally. And I think all of the new investments in gas and in gas, there's a lot of interest and attraction to the region to unlock those opportunities. So I do believe that there's very much an international focus right now on the Southern African region for gas and renewables, and certainly hoping that, being one of the countries that really is dependent on coal, we move away from that. And I think there's appreciation from the international community that has to be a just transition. We have to also look at how we manage jobs economically in this country. So I think that there is a lot of focus on it, and I think certainly the international community is looking for opportunities to unlock that in South Africa.
Okay, well, I hope you get some moves underway at the summit. Prashaen Reddy, good to talk to you.